Hi everyone, this is Carolyn Speaks, the State of Our World on Wednesday, April 14, 2021. So what is it, good, bad, or indifferent? Well, let's see if we can find out. The coronavirus is still with us. It's not going anywhere, anytime soon. And so we have to keep wearing a mask, practice social distancing, only go out when you have to, and remember to only socialize with those in your immediate household. Now, we still have virus deniers and mask deniers and social distance to remind us that we have to go abide by the guidelines of the health agencies, and the national and local level. Okay? That's the only way we get rid of this. Now, main story, Afghanistan. Biden vows to end our nation's longest war by September 11th after decades of bloodshed and destruction. I do not believe that is the right decision. The people of Afghanistan have been suffering in a war framework for a long time. They had the British there, they had the Russians there, they had the Taliban there, and then the Americans invaded after September 11th. And if you pull out everybody, I realize there are special operations going on by the CIA and the military, but if you pull everybody out, then the people are going to suffer, especially the women. And what about all the people who have acted as translators and helped the U.S. forces in the past 20 years? What's going to happen to them? So I don't believe we should pull out. We have to make sure that we don't let Afghanistan fall into the hands of ISIS and Al Qaeda and the Taliban. We really have to help the country. I don't approve of this decision. Now, another thing we have, American insurrection, deadly far-right extremism from Charlottesville to the Capitol attack. What next? Who knows? But we definitely have a lot of hate groups out there, like the Oath Keepers and militias and the various groups. The Klan, Ku Klux Klan, is involved in this too, and they're neo-Nazis. So anyway, we really have to deal with extremism, and it's not going to be dealt with if we don't do something. And we have to allow everybody to vote and not let voting restrictions remain on the books in certain states like in Georgia. Everybody should vote, and if that's the only way we can have fair systems for everyone. Now, so a lot of stuff going on in the world. Iran is ramping up the uranium enrichment following a Natanz attack and amid talks on 2015 nuclear deal, which they're now reviving. Obama got a nuclear deal, and now Iran and the United States are set to resume their talks in Vienna, and hopefully that will help. It will ramp up its efforts following that attack. The attack on their site, Iran blamed Israel for the attack. However, the Israel, for some reason, is not in favor of relaunching the talks, nuclear disarmament talks with Iran. I don't know why, I don't understand, but that's the way it is. Strange. Now, what else is happening? Well, White House moves forward with $23 billion weapon sales to United Arab Emirates, UAE. The administration is moving ahead with more than $23 billion in weapons sales to United Arab Emirates after reviewing a deal made under Trump. Their Lockheed Martin F-35 jets and armed drones. Anti-war groups and progressive lawmakers have called for the U.S. to stop all arms sales to the UAE over its involvement in the Saudi-led U.S.-backed war on Yemen. I totally agree with the progressive lawmakers and anti-war groups. You should not be selling this stuff to the UAE. Very bad, very bad. But that's the way it is. Sometimes we can't do anything. Now, Russian troops amass on the eastern border of the Ukraine as the U.S. and NATO pledged to support for Ukraine. Ukraine says 40,000 Russian troops have amassed on its eastern border, prompting some to warn Russia could be preparing for war. Another 40,000 troops are in the next Crimea, but others say Russia is sending its soldiers to the region as a show of force and intimidation to Ukraine and its allies. The U.S. and NATO have vowed to support Ukraine, though it's not a member of the alliance. Analysts also say Russia could be seeking a distraction from domestic issues, including the imprisonment of Alexei Navalny, who was poisoned by Putin and Putin's people. And so hopefully Ukraine will not fall to Russia, but time will tell. Now, the United States has sent an unofficial delegation to Taiwan as China warns against foreign intervention. Biden has sent an unofficial delegation of former government officials and a former lawmaker to Taiwan 2 days after Taipei said China sent 25 warplanes into its air defense zone. China has been increasing military drills around Taiwan and warned the U.S. against intervening in the territory for which it claims sovereignty. Now, Taiwan is the democratic part of China, and they maintain their democracy and their freedom from China. Hopefully, that'll last forever, but who knows? We will see. Now, there's a country called Burkina Faso. Is a small country, and they're trying to try ex-President Blaise Compaoré for the murder of iconic leader Thomas Sankara. In Burkina Faso, authorities have charged exiled former President Blaise Compaoré with the murder of Thomas Sankara, who was killed in a 1987 coup. Sankara was a revered leader and anti-colonialist Marxist who enacted popular social programs and was dubbed the African Che Guevara. Compaoré succeeded Sankara, his one-time close friend, and was eventually ousted decades later in a popular uprising in 2014. He'll be tried in absentia. So that's another area where coup. I wonder if we are supporting that coup at the time. Who knows? But it's another coup. Now, Facebook allowed Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez to use fake accounts to appear more popular. The Guardian reports the Facebook new right-wing Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez was using thousands of fake Facebook accounts to make his political campaign appear more popular and let him get away with it for nearly 1 year after the company was alerted to the activity. Facebook reportedly learned what was happening in 2018 with posts on Hernandez's page, receiving engagement from tens of thousands of fake accounts. But Facebook took no action until the following year, even though it violated company policy. Hernandez, a key U.S. ally, has long been accused of spreading misinformation online to discredit his critics and undermine social movements. Now, this country of Mr. Hernandez is Honduras, which is one of the three countries with the most violence against its citizens, and that's Honduras is one of the countries that people are fleeing from. So how does Facebook get away with what it's doing? I don't know, but someone has to stop Facebook because it's not doing the right thing. Now, also, the UN Secretary General calls for a wealth tax on pandemic profiteers. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is calling on governments to impose a wealth tax on rich people who have profited from the pandemic. A recent report found the world's wealthiest have seen their fortunes surge to $5 trillion since the start of the pandemic. They should have a wealth tax imposed on them. I totally agree with that. Well, people were losing their homes. These wealthy people were raking in the money very, very bad. So we have to hold them accountable. Okay. Now, President Biden has appointed Robert Santos to become the Census Bureau's first director of color. We've been without good leadership at the census since Trump came in, because Trump wanted to avoid the census. He wanted to play with the numbers. He didn't want to have any accountability for people that he didn't like. For instance, he didn't want to count people who were, immigrants or undocumented. Trump just wanted to have an inaccurate report, and he was trying to do that, but he didn't get away with it. The census determines how many people are living in the country, and nothing to do with whether someone is a documented or undocumented citizen, etc. Because the U.S. needs to know how many people live here, so when they allocate money to various states, they know they'll have an accurate count of how much money they'll need, how many people they have to help support. So I'm very glad we have a decent head of the census coming in. The census is also used to determine how many representatives there are in Congress. So depending on the population of a state determines how many members, U.S. congressional members they can have. Senators, every state gets 2 senators, but the House of Representatives is made up of congressional representatives from all the states, depending on the population, and comes up with how much goes to each district. All right, now, so that's important. I'm glad we're going to have something like that happening. Trump is really trying to get away with a lot of different stuff. He wants to increase the number of Republican members of Congress and decrease the number of Democratic members of Congress. But he didn't get to do that. Okay, now, and what else is there? Well, that's basically what's happening. Now, there is one thing that happened. Bernie Madoff passed away today. He's a New Yorker who started a notorious Ponzi scheme a long time ago, and he ended up going to jail. What he did was, there was some TV movies or some documentaries about that. In 2008, he was finally held accountable and started his prison sentence. Now, and there were movies and stuff. And he came from an area of New York City, out in Queens, called Laurelton. That's the area where I grew up after we moved from Manhattan. And I knew his brother Peter. Peter did go to jail, and he has about a year left on his sentence. Right now, he's putting on the rest of the sentence at home due to the virus. So, anyway, I think it's maybe time to go. Let's have a little music. The song I'd like to sing today is, okay, what do I want to sing today? Let me think about that for a minute. Okay, the song that I like to sing today is called, well, we haven't done this for a while, Amazing Grace. Um, Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Kids, Amazing Grace. Hope you liked it. Thank you for tuning in and listening this evening of Wednesday, April 14, 2021, for another meeting of Carolyn Speaks State of the World. Hope you'll join us again tomorrow evening. Stay safe, take care of yourself and others, wear a mask, practice social distancing, only that when you have to. And remember, kindness goes a long way. Kindness goes a very long way. Thank you. Good night, all. Stay safe.